Good morning. Welcome to my kitchen table. We're here in the kitchen this morning and sitting at the bar or what do you call this thing? The counter, whatever it is. The island, I guess. I got a couple of stools here that I sit at and here in the house. And anyway, we're here this morning. Kind of a reason for that is, I got out earlier today and it's fine, but my dog stirred up a skunk a while ago and fortunately, she didn't get sprayed, but she's got the smell going everywhere around and in the air, and there's not any wind today, and I just didn't want to feel like sitting out and smelling that. So the dog caused a stink in our little world out here, and so that's just one of the things that comes about living right on the farm life, I guess, and having animals and creatures running around. So it's pretty good. But I was want to visit with you this morning a little bit and out of the book of Philippians and a couple another verse or two. We'll look in Acts in a minute, but just with the mindset of thinking about what Paul is saying to the Philippians and the words of encouragement to them, and I think they're good words for us as well today. And because we all have the potential to to cause a stink in our world where we're at, and we can do that either in a negative way or we can do it in a positive, biblical, spiritual way. And that's kind of what I want to look at today. So over in Philippians in chapter 2, in a passage that goes from verse 12 and down through verse 18. I'm not going to read all those verses, but the Apostle Paul, and the way my Bible subtitles it, is calls it light bearers, light bearers. And so he goes on and there talks about in verse 14, and as he's talking to these Philippian believers, he says this, he says, do all things without complaining and disputing. And in other words, I guess there was some of that stuff going on. That's a way to cause a stink in your world is by complaining, arguing, just doing those kind of things. But he says in verse 15, he says that you may become blameless and harmless children of God without fault in the midst of a crooked and perverse generation among whom you shine as lights in the world. He says, holding fast the word of life so that I may rejoice in the day of Christ that I have not run in vain or labored in vain. But he tells them in that verse 5, to live that harmless, blameless life, without fault in the midst of a crooked and perverse generation, among whom you shine as lights in the world. Shining as lights in this old world. And that's what I think is important for us, that we need to remember that. Now, if you look back over in the book of Acts, and of course, Paul is a big part of what's written in the book of Acts. And Luke recorded a lot of his missionary deals in the early church stages and all those kind of things, and the sharing the gospel, going out. Well, one particular event in chapter 17 is a story of Paul and Silas, and they were preaching there in Thessalonica. And but I mean, they got some crowds upset by what they was preaching and proclaiming. And they get down there to I think it's in verse 17. Well, hold on, verse 6. Excuse me. And said that the Jews were, they weren't persuaded by all that was going on there. It says, and so they got these men together and they went to the house of Jason, I guess where Paul and him was. It says, but verse 6 says, but when they did not find them, they dragged Jason and some brethren to the rulers of the city, crying out. And this is what they were saying. They were saying against Paul and Silas. It says, these who have turned the world upside down have come here too. Basically because Paul and Silas were preaching the gospel, they were being accused of causing all kinds of trouble all over the world, they said, and says now they're bringing it to our city too, and the gospel message was messing with people's minds, said they turned the world upside down, but we know that literally they were the world was the one that was upside down and not the message that they had. But let's think about that for just a minute. That here Paul and Silas had this dramatic impact upon their world, the world in which they lived. Now, the first century church was relatively small compared to what it is today. They're just a small number of Christians basically, and uh, but in spite of that, they had a remarkable I mean, they made a remarkable difference in their culture. And so that same ought to be still true today for us, is that we need Christians today who'll be able to take a stand for what's right. Uh, because really it seems as though our culture is affecting us more than we're affecting the culture. I mean, there's so many people today naming the name of Christ, um, but yet, it seems like our world is not really paying attention to that, and we wonder what difference are we really making. And we, we get frustrated sometimes about thinking about that, but it's true. But one of the things is we're allowing these secular attitudes to find their way in our churches and into our lives as Christian people. I mean, it's there. A lot of time people say they're Christians, but yet they 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 live, immoral lives. They have sex before marriage. They have sex outside of marriage. They play with drugs. They get drunk. They tell lies. They try to sue one another, and the list goes on and on and on. I mean, it's just it's kind of it's not a good thing. They're doing those things about arguing and all kinds of stuff. But I just want to tell you, as believers, we ought to be like what Paul says there in that Philippians 2:15, is that we should be these bright lights, in this world, to let the light of Christ shine through us, and to be able to make a difference in this world. We should be shining as lights in the world. And that's always a positive thing to do that. You see, the world needs to see, really, really, truly. They need to see the flesh and blood Christians who are living the Christian life in the same neighborhood where they live, in the same place where they work, in the same uh, place they go to school. People need to see the real thing. We need to be Christians wherever we go, and whatever we're doing, and being a bright light in this world. And, bottom line is the world needs to see you. You know, we don't need to be sitting back and just showing ourselves out to other believers on Sunday, but it needs to be the all week long. And people need to see us. They understand that God can use you, and He will use you, just as He used the believers in that first century. A lot of times, people think, well, that was a different deal. Well, no, God's still the same. His message is still the same. He's still reaching out to people, got a desire to see people get saved, and people to experience the joy, the life that Christ has for them. And you and I, we have a great responsibility and a great privilege, and we need to understand that we can proclaim the gospel message through our life, and that probably speaks more, but we also proclaim it again through our words, that we speak and those kind of things. But just living that Christian life, we can make a big impact on our world. I don't know, we can impact the world around us, and if we all as believers do that, then this world will truly be right side up. We can turn them right side up, if you will. And so I just want to encourage you today, be bright, be bright and be bright in the Lord, and understand that you have that great opportunity, privilege, and responsibility. I think, to be bright lights, the light of Christ. Let it shine through you today and tomorrow, and wherever you're going, whether it's at home or work or school, whoever it might be. Be a light of Christ in this old world. They tired of seeing the bickering and the belly aching and the complaining and all those kind of things. It certainly don't need to be happening in church, but we don't need to be doing it outside church either. It needs to be letting Christ's love and light shine through us. So I just want to share that with you today, and just a word of encouragement. I know you get tired sometimes seeing all the stuff and happening, but we can have an impact, and let's see how we can do that today, and just let Christ's love and light shine through us where we go. Hey, just want to thank you again for being with me this morning. Remind everybody at church again tonight at 6 o'clock. Hey, this Sunday is going to be a special day. We're going to have about 3 baptisms going on, and we have a testimony from one of our students who was summer missionary in Canada this summer. Be sharing a little bit of that. We'll be having pot faith dinner on the ground eating meeting as well right after church. So we're looking forward to a great day of just fellowshipping, worshiping the Lord together, praising Him for all that He's done, and just the new opportunities we have that day. to be together with his people in his house. Hey, I thank you for watching me this morning. I pray that you'll again truly have a blessed day, and don't forget, let your light shine. Let it shine all about Jesus. Amen. God bless you. Bye bye.